Welcome to the Retail Media Moguls podcast, brought to you by Platform 195. We share trends and strategies across retail media to help you accelerate your brand growth. I'm your host, Stuart Adamson. Welcome to the Retail Media Moguls podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Adamson, founder and CEO of Platform 195. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Molly Hjelm, a trailblazer in the world of retail media and ad sales, and with a career spanning various leadership roles across renowned companies like Dollar General, Kroger, Spins, and more. Molly brings a wealth of experience and insights to the table. Her journey in cultivating mutually beneficial partnerships and designing go-to-market strategies has not only shaped her career, but has also played a pivotal role in driving results for the brands she's worked with. Join us as we delve into the dynamic landscape of retail media and explore strategies for unlocking incremental reach in rural markets with Molly Hjelm. Molly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Stuart.
Look, well, I think the best place to start, with these things is probably Dollar General. Tell us about what you're doing there and what the offer is to the well, firstly, actually, for our listeners, because we have a lot of people across international markets. Maybe we start with, what is Dollar General? What's its reach? How many stores? All the basics.
Yeah, happy to. And actually, that's where I tend to start any speaking engagement, any meeting. Dollar General is really a unique retailer in the landscape of North America. In the US, we are the largest retailer by store count with 20,000 stores and growing. So huge footprint over 48 states. And interestingly, 80% of our stores are in markets of less than 20,000 people. And for your international audience, those are really small towns in the US for whom we may be the only retailer that serves that specific town. And so what that means is that the vast majority of customers that we serve are rural audiences that are coming to us as a retailer. And I should say, as we talk more about Dollar General, we are, even though there's dollar in the name, we're not a dollar store. We are a small box discount retailer that provides all the national brands at affordable prices to our customers. And for those customers in rural markets, we end up being a large percentage of their weekly or biweekly shop. And we're able to fill the majority of their needs, whether that's food. Increasingly, we now have produce, refrigerated, frozen, drug, beauty products. We really have many departments across the store that can fulfill their needs with a very curated assortment.
Amazing. And how many customers do you have a year? Do you know?
So we have, I like to talk in reachable customers because many of our transactions are cash transactions. And so as we think about the transactions that we can loop back to a customer, we have 90 million and growing reachable customers. And I say growing because Dollar General opens a little under 1,000 stores a year and has for the last decade. This year, we've announced that we'll open hundreds more.
So obviously that's an enormous amount of stores and a huge reach, and you call it reachable. Tell us about the Dollar General Media Network, though, then, and what that offering is.
Yes. So I talk about our origin story often in that really what we found as DG, in our attempts to market DG, we could not find our customer in our programmatic media. We were either optimizing out of the rural customer or we just frankly could not reach them. And so out of that need to be able to deliver value to our own customer base in rural, we developed our first party data strategy, which has allowed us then to be able to reach and deliver value to our specific rural customer. And in doing so, we knew there was value for advertisers as well.
So how are you then, what are you offering to suppliers and advertisers then in order to reach those customers?
Our strategy in building our portfolio has been all about connecting with our customer wherever they're spending their time. And so we don't have a significant e-commerce business to speak of. The vast majority of our sales are in store. And so we have really focused our efforts on building out a very robust offsite portfolio, focused on bringing our data into programmatic, whether that's display or video or audio, really any available tactic programmatically, as well as curating partnerships with Meta and with YouTube, and streaming audio services where we know that our customers are spending a great deal of time and where we can reach a huge majority of our customers. One of the things that we find ourselves doing in this space with rural is just there's a lot of education to do around the fact that marketers are missing out on rural reach in their existing plans. I think it's not typically something that's thought of. And so we have been kind of on a crusade over the course of the past 6 months to really make sure that it's known in the industry that this customer is not being reached. And that represents incremental reach for brands. And it means incremental value for a rural customer that is typically underserved and does not receive the same messaging as the rest of the US.
So how do you help advertisers then navigate the unique challenges and opportunities presented by these rural markets?
For us, it's all about, we've got the same sort of precision targeting and closed loop measurement that are really the hallmarks of retail media. And for us, it's about discerning the patterns in purchase behaviors that we're observing within our walls, bringing those as opportunities to advertisers, and then enabling them to close the loop after they market and see if their marketing messages move the needle. So I've been really working to make sure that our account executives and that our full org has increased visibility to business data, performance data on behalf of our advertiser clients, so that we are really in a position to consult and sit side by side, identify business pain points. And then the true power of retail media, from my perspective, coming from my data and insights background, is just the ability to act on those business pain points, deliver a message to a lapsing customer, to somebody that's trading down, and give them, value or an incentive that might bring them to change their behavior and measuring the impact.
So talk us through that data bit then, because you talked about how you feed that into programmatic, and then you talked about performance data there. What data are you actually using in order to power these partnerships?
It's our first party data. So we collect it through the value exchange for our digital coupons that we offer to customers. And there are other ways that we have of connecting kind of offline persona to digital persona as well that enable us to create the data set that we have.
And then you talked a lot, we sort of talked earlier about education. You're sort of helping advertisers to across the nation to realize that there's these amazing rural audiences out there. How are you going about doing that education piece? How are you getting that evangelization out there?
I love that question. So we, as a retailer and a retail media network, understood that from our own lived experience, we were not able to reach the rural customer through our programmatic efforts. So we knew intuitively and inherently that there was value to the first-party data strategy that we were creating. But we are fortunate to have a wonderful partnership with the Trade Desk. And this year, as we have ported our audiences in to enable self-service programmatic for our partners, the Trade Desk brought to us this proof point, which is our first third-party proof point, which shows that when our purchase-based audiences, our Dollar General purchase-based audiences, are paired on top of the largest third-party demo targets in the Trade Desk, as much as 50% of the DG customer base is not included in those demo targets. And so what that means is for any national advertiser that's using kind of a broad reach, spray and pray type method in their national campaigns, thinking that with that strategy, they're reaching all of America, actually, there's a significant amount of customers that they are missing out on and not including in every one of those plans. And just to give you a sense for that scale, we looked category by category. And when we paired our soda audiences on top of that, those largest 3P demo targets, and by that I mean like 25 to 54-year-olds, so a huge swath of kind of the buyer audience of America, 70 million customers were not included in those demo targets. So there's significant scale to be garnered and significant, incremental reach for brands to obtain when they include our audiences in their national plans.
So how are they? So effectively, they're taking your audiences then, and then buying those through the trade desk across programmatic channels. And which of those channels are performing best for your customers? If it's difficult to reach them anyway because they're in rural areas, how are you using programmatic channels in order to create that value for advertisers?
So historically, what we found is that mobile display has worked really well for our customers. They may not have, a desktop or a laptop computer in their homes, but they have mobile phones, and that's where they're consuming a lot of their digital content. So that's been something in our own strategy that works really well. The beauty of a self-service offering is that we often don't see how those plans come together for national plans. The advertiser has the ability to pair the inventory that they believe in with our audiences and test and learn. But what we hear as we are collectively thinking through strategy is that video and CTV are really highly performant and effective for our partners.
And given the importance of this data-driven insights in today's marketing landscape, how do you approach both the targeting bit, which we've discussed, but how do you personalize that targeting? How are you doing the personalization element?
Sky's the limit for targeting in the world of retail data. So really any discernible purchase behavior, like anything you might find on a receipt and more, can be fodder for the creation of a cohort or an audience. And so that's what keeps me interested and excited in this industry, is just that ability to identify customers based off of their purchase behavior and then tie them into whatever the objective of the campaign might be. If we have an objective of, mitigating leakage, growing market share, or growing category share, if we want to help increase trade up, we have the ability to isolate those specific customers and deliver them a message that hopefully increases their consideration of that action. And then we also have the ability to do creative testing within our campaigns to see which resonates more and to optimize into the creative that's working better. And so that's really, there's so much promise in retail media for the personalization element here. And we've had great success in being able to optimize to the messaging that resonates best.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said on the creative side at the moment. I think there's a lot of same stuff going on because it's all been so media driven. And actually, one thing that we've always talked about at Platform 195 and, is where's the differentiator? And that starts to really sit with creative. And it's obviously always been the most important part of the advertising. It's sort of gone by the wayside due to data and targeting. And now I think it's going to come back roaring just because of the sheer need to stand out and differentiate, which, to be fair, has always been there. But with retail media has been the media side has overtaken. So it's really interesting to hear about that, Jen.
Yeah, and it's been fun to see. I think it's taken time as we think about the evolution of retail media. It's taken time for shopper marketers to really understand, shopper marketers and sales teams to really understand the power and the nuance of retail media as a lever to drive specific business outcomes. I would say we have evolved pretty significantly in that journey. There's probably still room to go, but to the point where now that type of just really thinking through the insights supporting your audience strategy and the why, and then KPIs that are the luxury of retail media, like iROAS, are now table stakes in shopper marketing plans where they were unknown, and we were really working hard to explain them even just a few years prior. So that has been exciting to observe in the industry as pertains to the precision targeting aspect here. And then it's been fun to see this second wave of national teams now understanding and starting to get interested in the power of retail data for their plans.
And you mentioned that you've been on a journey in order to get closer to the business and the shopper data between the two. Tell me a bit more about that and how you're really sort of getting those reports that you can then go back to a partner with.
Yeah. We've been on a journey, and that journey has been we have had a significant amount of data that we as an organization have had available to us, but it hasn't necessarily been in user-friendly or business-friendly, accessible platforms. And so I'm lucky that here at DG we have such a wonderful data science team and a tech team. And they have helped me pursue this initiative, which we're calling a democratization of data, which allows us now, the account executives and our planners and our insights teams have access in reporting dashboards to the business performance of all of our advertisers in store, not just as pertains to advertising and how their advertising is performing, but also, what's the landscape that they're navigating within our stores, and what are maybe the hard or the easy conversations that they're having with merch around what's working and what isn't, and how can we play into that to help bolster their business performance at DG and beyond.
So does the DG Media Network include in-store activation?
So we do, as a broader umbrella, we partner with third parties, Vestcom and with Neptune for an in-store signage business. And then we also, with 20,000 stores, with the footprint that we have, we're really compelled and interested in what some are calling a third wave of retail media, which is hearkening back to in-store tactics and methods. And so the idea of screens in stores and the idea of audio in stores that's programmatic is really compelling and interesting, and something that we're actively evaluating.
Great, yeah. I mean, audio's on the rise, which is really exciting. So it's good to see that you're doing all the screens. Are you finding any way of measuring in-store activation with the signage?
We do. Our in-store signage partners have their methodology for closing the loop to sales. I can't speak competently to their methodology for doing that here. It's a slightly different one than a user-based methodology for programmatic media, but they're tried and true methods that are market accepted for holding store signage accountable.
Fantastic. So with the rise of sort of digital and mobile tech, how do you see the role of traditional media channels like in-store, TV, print, radio evolving in the rural market strategies? Is it slower to move to more digital tech, or is it moving as fast?
It's a good question. I think a lot of the time we're combating bias externally on who the rural customer is and what they adopt and what they don't. One of the biggest areas of bias is whether they are highly digitally engaged and highly digitally influenced, just like the rest of America. And the answer is yes. And so I think the same dynamics for TV, traditional linear TV and traditional radio, they're also that fragmented attention of Americans that is making those tactics less effective is also happening in rural areas. And so a programmatic strategy where you can directly engage and connect with a known customer is really important and effective, not just in metropolitan areas, but also in rural.
I saw just on your LinkedIn recently that you'd done a partnership with Criteo. Tell us a bit about what you've done.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. I'm hugely excited about this partnership. It is the embodiment of two things. One is our journey towards e-com and on-site, making our on-site advertising slots available to advertisers. We, as I mentioned before, we're really nascent in our e-commerce abilities. We've got these small footprints that are easy for folks to get in and out of. And so we are really thinking through how we launch that business. But we have 30 million monthly site visitors and growing, and we've got over 6 million app users that are highly engaged. And so, and one of the things that we found recently is that half of those customers are in the store within 2 days of visiting the site or the app. So they are actively coming to our store and our app as they are planning their next trip in the immediate future. And so it's important, even without an e-com business, just knowing how highly digitally influenced and engaged our customer is, to intercept them right at that point as they're making that intention to shop. And so, one, making that advertising inventory available to our partners is huge for their ability to drive behaviors that they seek in store. And then secondly, our launch with Criteo allows for advertisers to engage our inventory in a self-service capacity through a tech partner that they're already familiar with. And it enables them to manage, if they're going through Criteo, they also have the ability to go through us. But if they go through the Criteo platform, they then have the ability to kind of bring all their retail buys into the same place and monitor them collectively there. So it's this recognition of the power of our on-site platform, and then also making it more seamless for advertisers to transact there.
Do you have a delivery service for Dollar General, or is it literally people have to go in store in order to purchase your products?
So the way that we have engaged in this space to date is really interesting. We have this unique and kind of best-in-class partnership with DoorDash as a delivery and fulfillment service for our shopper. And so those who are engaged with DoorDash can go in and see our items reflected, our assortment reflected in DoorDash, and have the ability to transact on them. And we also, as a media network, have the ability to deliver shoppable ads that link through to DoorDash for the opportunity to shop our products. Now, going forward, of course, we're evaluating, what the right e-com strategy will look like for a customer that is so value oriented, knowing that value can mean both money and saving people time. And so this partnership with DoorDash is something that's actively enabled us to assess the viability of that future strategy.
Yeah, and they're very advanced in the retail media space themselves, as DoorDash. So we actually had a lady from Volt Ads on, who are part of DoorDash, a few weeks ago. It's really exciting. I think that's a great partnership to be doing, and especially if you can find a media angle to it too, with overlaying, combining audiences.
Yeah, there's a lot of synergy in that. They have such a large breadth across the US, and so do we. So vast majority of our footprint is within delivery range of the DoorDash ecosystem. And so the symbiosis of that partnership of essentially enabling our stores to serve as distribution centers, so to speak, for their ability to connect customers to the national brands that they know and love has been really fruitful.
So what's next? How are you going to grow the Dollar General Media Network? What's coming that you can talk about?
There are the basics as far as, how we engage our partners, leveraging the data and the democratization of data, making kind of becoming a consulting partner and a consulting arm for our advertisers is a big part of, at least in my role in the commercially facing side, what we're doing and what we're building. And then I do think we will be actively exploring the e-com space and what that will mean at DG. And so I'm hugely excited for the potential of that, given that most retail media networks sit squarely within the e-com space, and that has been their genesis, and that has been so productive for them. And so I'm excited to see what that will do, both for our advertiser partners, but also for our customers.
And do the advertisers see you as a separate opportunity, given that the rest of them could all be a bit me too if they're all in the e-commerce space and it's Coca-Cola advertising? Do they see your audiences as a niche segment and an opportunity to expand that?
They do. And I'm so compelled about our point of difference here. And that's why I'm here. And what gets me out of bed in the morning is just this isn't just another retail media network that has customers that are all in the same towns, shopping the same retailer down the street, the big box retailer, the grocery retailer, et cetera. We really are in these places where we are the primary retail option for these customers. We have access to a customer base that is totally deduplicated and incremental versus those other retail media networks. And so I see this complementary strategy of do your demo targeting, bring in your own first party data as an advertiser, bring in other retail media networks. We're not afraid of that. We encourage that. And that's kind of part of how we've gone to market with self-service. And then deduplicate all that from our audience and make sure that our audience provides that incremental reach in rural. And so we've actually partnered with the Trade Desk on something that will be coming soon to the market. It's an alpha now, where we are creating demo segments off of the DG first party data so that if you are doing a demo targeted data strategy in your national plans, you can complement it and ensure that the DG rural customer, 25 to 54, or families of people, more than two people, are included in that national plan, and you can optimize accordingly. And so I still think there's a ton of equity building and excitement and education to do around the fact that this truly is incremental reach and that there's a lot for brands to get out of that.
Yeah, and if you can just strengthen the pipes to reach them, then there's a huge, add-on opportunity for these partners. Fascinating, really fascinating. So that you've been doing this for a while, because before Dollar General, you were at Kroger.
I'm about 10 months into this role.
Okay. So how have you seen it sort of evolve in America? Because it feels like it's just been such a really slow start and then just a rapid evolution over the last sort of year, 18 months. How have you seen that evolve?
I was lucky enough. I feel like I've been really just fortunate in my career to have had ties that have intersected with what would become retail media really early on. So those early threads in my career looked like using loyalty card data to create audiences and then working with other partners like the Data Logicses of the world to try to figure out how to connect the dots to online personas and reach them, and then how to close the loop. And so in those early days, it was so tough. The infrastructure didn't exist. Nobody really understood inherently the value of first party data and precision targeting. Media was still a black box. It was before Mark Pritchard had come out and really talked about media buying practices and efficiencies and wanting to be confident in who they were reaching. And so you just look at the education and the shifts and the changes and the acceleration, mostly brought on by COVID and the e-commerce businesses that were built in response. And it's just exciting. It's exciting not to have to explain the power of 1P data anymore. And there's just, I always think when you're sitting with a first party data asset, sky's the limit. The opportunity is vast as new partners arise, as customers are spending their time on new platforms. The ability to create those partnerships by pairing up data sets is really infinite and exciting. And so I think we'll continue to see evolution and change, but I think we're well prepared for that change.
Great. I mean, should we talk about trends quickly? I mean, how do you see the future of retail media evolving now?
So I think we could talk about that from several different ways. I am most compelled on the trends of organizational change that I see that are being brought on by the dawn of retail media. How that shifts some of these kind of age-old planning cadences and age-old budget delineations that exist within specifically food CPG orgs and consumable CPG orgs. It's been slow going, but the rapid transformation of this space has really forced some of those conversations and some of those shifts. And what it means is greater efficiency for those budgets over the long run. And better collaboration and integration national through to shopper, which I'm excited for us to fully realize. And then I mentioned before, but for many retail media networks, programmatic and offsite is the next frontier, really firmly establishing themselves in the use of first-party data in offsite. They're calling that the second wave of retail media from the trades that I read, but really solidifying our place in national investment considerations, I've heard is third wave. And we're seeing as a retail media network that really got our start in offsite media, we're seeing that accelerate maybe sooner than some others in the market are, or maybe the adoption is happening all at the same time. But it's been really exciting to see the traction.
Yeah, and it's much easier to sell when there is that traction, isn't there, rather than trying to create a market at once being done for you. Well, look, I mean, look, it's been an amazing conversation. Look, thank you so much for coming. Unfortunately, we are out of time. But yeah, look, I've loved it. Look, really good luck with it. I'm really excited to see how you evolve the in-store bit and all the reporting. And then also that e-commerce journey is really exciting for Dollar General. That can only be huge opportunity. So really excited to see how you evolve that. And perhaps we can reconvene in a year or so, Molly, and see how actually that has all of it.
Yes. We move fast, Stuart. So even in the next 6 months, I'm sure we'd have totally different things to talk about. So
cool. Well, let's do that. Let's do it in 6 months. That would be amazing. Thank you. Well, look, thank you so much, Molly, for gracing our Retail Media Moguls podcast with your deep insights. We'd be thrilled to have you back in the future to discuss the finer details of reaching those rural markets over the coming years. So please do come back and join us. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, thank you.
The Retail Media Moguls podcast is brought to you by Platform 195. To learn more about Platform 195 and how to connect retail media with intelligent marketing to accelerate growth, visit platform195.com. And then make sure to search for Retail Media Moguls in Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And on behalf of the team here at Platform 195, thanks for listening.